Hello YouTube and greetings students. This is lesson 1 of Hexxit Education. I am Ken Kadia. I will be your teacher for this course, and I'm hoping that you'll all gain a lot from this course as much as I will teaching it. Okay, so we have a lot to get done today. I hope you will bear with me. I just installed a new software program, and hopefully the sound quality will be a little better as a result. And okay, so lesson 1 is basically an introduction to Tinker's construct. And what I want to do today is basically walk you through some of the basics of this mod, which is actually one of the more complicated mods within Hexxit modpack. I wanted to start with this because I just picture yourself, as you probably will, you start a new game in Hexxit, and you go around, you mine a couple of things, you do some surface mining, you basically play vanilla Minecraft. I highly recommend you do not approach any of the infested structures, which we saw in our introductory lesson, or approach any of the battle towers. If you do not have sufficient armor or weapons, you will not be happy about that. So you're doing that for a little while. Maybe you'll eventually sink a mine shaft and start to build a base. Now, I highly recommend, right after you build a base, the first structure that you set your sights on is the Smeltery, which is a multi-block structure from Tinker's construct, and it is very valuable throughout the entire game, but it is most valuable if you start building it early. So for this lesson, we'll be primarily going over to our forge, which we saw in the introductory episode, and we'll be building the Smeltery, and let's head over there. Okay. Passing library on our left, science building on our right. Oh, left the door open. Got the infested building over here. Reminder, do not approach. And here we are at our forge. Okay, now you can see on your right here, I have blocked out what a smeltery is going to look like in these dirt blocks. These are going to be replaced primarily with seared bricks. But first things first, we will consult. Come on, chest. Sorry about this. You happen to get a teacher who was not prepared for class. Here we go. As I said before, I'm going to try and do this series as much as I can in survival mode. However, in some cases I may have to switch over to creative just for the sake of simplicity. So when you first log into Minecraft, you will find that you have within you an item, Materials in You, Volume 1. And when you open this, you will see Heroes in You, Surviving Beyond the First Day. This is a book from Tinker's Construct. This was the first of several volumes, and it will walk you through the process of building some of these basic blocks. So I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but I am going to show you how to make a blank pattern, stencil table, part crafter, pattern chest, and tool station. And I may get to a tool forge as we go on. These are the basic crafting stations similar to crafting tables that's used to make items through Tinker's Construct. Okay, and just in order to make them, all you need is wood. So start with a crafting table, and need a couple of those. Make some more planks. And I'll make 14 blank patterns. Okay, now take the blank patterns you just made and combine them with a wood block for a part builder, a wood planks for a stencil table, you're going to also need another crafting table combined with stencils to make a tool station, and just put this down first. You're also going to need to make, I didn't make enough wood here, but that's why you get a whole stack of blocks. Make a chest, and combine to make a pattern chest. We're actually going to make 2 of these, and I'll show you why later in the episode. Okay, now the placement of these stations does matter a little bit. You have a crafting table here, which is going to be kind of useful in the same general vicinity, so you might as well keep it in the same place. Let's see. So first thing you're going to need. Okay, so let's see. Stencil table, tool station, part builder, and put 1 pattern chest between them. Now it's key that you have a pattern chest between the stencil table and the no, that's not right. No, that's not right. Oh, my bad. I put this in the wrong order. It's key that you have them in the right place, because the pattern chest will allow you to store patterns between different stations. So, for example, go into this. You can make a pattern using the stencil table here, and then we'll go and put in this chest. And then when you go into here, you get access to the chest for the pattern builder. It makes it a little easier than having to cart the patterns back and forth. Okay, so right now I'm going to make 1 pattern. You just hit, sorry about the interface blocking, but it's this next pattern and previous pattern. And all you need is, where is it? Okay, so we'll come back to that in a minute. Let me just make it dawn, it'll be a little easier to see. Okay, so you have these 4 devices here. Now at this point, we're going to take a slight reset. Oh, sorry. This we're actually going to put over here, because that's going to be useful later on. Oh, and you'll notice my inventory. This is the reason I wanted to show you how to make these, instead of just bringing them to spawn. If you find them, or if you craft these devices, or if you send in these spawn in these devices, you will not get this, which is the second volume of materials in you. I have 2 because I had 1 already in my inventory. This is sort of this is like the second volume. There's actually a 3rd volume which you get after you make some of the materials that are inside here. But at this point, we're going to take a short break. We're going to go on a field trip. Right after you make these, I'm going to show you where to get some very useful materials, and this is me primarily in Hexxit. And we're back. Hello again, class. We're taking, as I said, a short field trip. This is a village that naturally generates through vanilla, and I'm sure you're well aware. However, with the addition of Tinker's Construct into the mod pack, there is actually 2 structures that are added through Tinker's Construct to most of the villages you'll find around here. I'm just looking for one right now. The second one, unfortunately, I was not able to find. I found it in some worlds, but I've explored 8,000 blocks north, east, south, and west, and I cannot find one. The structure I was looking for, which I was hoping to show you, is a smeltery. There are actually naturally occurring smelteries in the world, which if you find them when you first start the game is incredibly useful. What I'm going to show you now is something that's not quite as useful as a smeltery, but nonetheless will give you a considerable edge if you can find one. I highly recommend, while building a smeltery, that you look around, see if you can find a village, because the vast majority of them will have a structure like this. Looks pretty basic. Looks like a normal little hut. The thing is, this is, well, I'm going to call it a tinker's hut. It can also be a tinker's shop, or whatever you call it. I couldn't find an actual name listed. And what it is a shop containing Tinker's Construct materials. You see, these are what we just built before. The difference is that this is pre-generated, and like I said, if you do not craft them yourself, you don't get the book. which you will need later in the game. Okay, so first thing, when you walk in here, and this is especially true when you first start a game, you'll notice that the floor is made out of wool. So this is one of the few structures where you have naturally generating wool. So I highly recommend you harvest all of that, take it back, make yourself a bed. Second thing, I got to take myself out of creative mode for this. You'll notice is this. There's a piston right here. If you're going to grab that, we're actually going to need it for later in our lesson. Okay. The second thing, and you may actually want to make several trips depending on what you find in one of these because it's somewhat randomized. The pattern chest is not empty. Here we go. Now, ideally, you will want a full set of these. These are stencil patterns, and essentially these are the molds you will need in order to make the various parts that you use to make the tools in Tinker's Construct. Tinker's Construct tools are somewhat separate from vanilla tools. Most notably, they cannot be enchanted. However, it can be enhanced using a variety of methods we will get to in a later episode. But for now, I want you to get one of each type of these that you can find and take it back to your base and put it in the pattern chest there. You may, like I said, if you don't have a backpack, you probably don't at this point. You may need to take this, bring it back, and then come back for the second thing you found in this hut, which is this chest. And the chest contains spare parts. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail right now, but suffice to say, I think the vast majority of the materials in Tinker's Construct are not necessary. I think there's something like 15 different materials you can use to craft different parts. Now, in general, Hexxit is about adventure. It's not about technicality. So if you want a technical mod, and you can most certainly use a lot of the aspects that Tinker's Construct has, including such things as a slime shovel head. Well, actually, that one's not too bad. But flint, cactus, wood, which we're actually going to use, paper, more slime. It's actually different kinds of slime. Copper. Actually, copper is not a bad idea. But in general, you want the most durable thing, because I want you to spend most of your time adventuring, not using tools or building tools. So you want to go for things that are durable. However, when you first start out in Hexxit, I won't hold it against you to take a couple of these and use them to make some simple tools that might save you a little bit of time down the road. Another exception will be if you happen to see sorry, not sign heads. Look just like sign heads. They are plates made of obsidian. Those are actually a modifier you can use later on to give your weapons a sort of a Tinker's Construct enhancement. So for the meantime, I'm going to suggest, given what we're looking at here, that you take the bronze knife blade, the copper large guard, and I'll say the wooden medium guard. Maybe the bronze sign also. And that's it. If you're new to Tinker's Construct, you feel free to take everything here, and so you can experiment with the mod. But it's not really that necessary, and you'll hopefully be making much more efficient and more durable tools in the near future. So we're gonna head back to our base now. And like I said, if at all possible, try and find one of these structures. If you can, you may find a large brick structure. It looks like making out of black bricks. That's a smeltery. They're rare, but they do sometimes spawn in villages that also have these tinker shops. Okay, back to our base. And welcome back. Okay, now to continue our lesson. Alright, so I'm just going to drop off the piston. We're probably going to need it later. So, like I said, after you build the crafting stations using Tinker's Construct, and you visit the Tinker's Construct village, and hopefully you'll have found a Tinker's Construct smeltery prefabricated, because it will save you a considerable amount of time. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world. So the next thing you have to do is, first thing I have to do actually, is remove music. I love the music in this thing, but it's a little bit distracting while I'm teaching class. We'll bring it back in the future. I hope that isn't too buggy. There it is. Okay, so What is a smeltery? Simply put, a smeltery is a duplication machine. What it does, and this is especially why you should make it early in the game as possible, is that it doubles the ingot output of all ores, almost all ores you put into it. So, for example, if you have 10 copper ore, you put that into a smeltery, you get 20 ingots. You put in 30 aluminum ore, you get out 60 ingots. So you can see how this would be very useful. In order to make it, it's relatively simple, but it does require some specialized blocks, which is this, seared bricks. Now, seared bricks are actually very easy to manufacture. All you need is equal parts clay, gravel, and sand. Combine those and you will get grout. You take the grout, put it into a normal furnace, cook it up, and you get seared bricks. Take 4 seared bricks, put them in your inventory, and you get these seared brick blocks. Now these are what you're mostly going to be using to construct your smeltery. I'm just going to take a couple of these, and we can begin. Now, first I want to show you is in your Materials in U Volume 2, there is a design for a smeltery. Correction, in Volume 1, there is actually a design for a smeltery, including how to make the seared bricks and a smeltery controller. Okay, I must update this since last time I looked at it. Okay, so we're going to take some of our regular seared bricks, make a smeltery controller, and that will give us, there we go, Volume 3, called Mighty Smelting. Now, Mighty Smelting, which you'll get when you follow the instructions and make a smeltery controller, will give you a design on how to create a smeltery. This is a very basic design that is obviously in your textbook. This is not the only design, and for one thing, it's actually a very, very simple design. It will allow you to use most of the functions of a smeltery. However, I find it somewhat limiting. It is useful early in the game. However, later in the game, I find you need to rebuild it. This is now my 4th Hexxit map, and I come up with a design that I think works fairly well, not only early in the game, but also later in the game as you have higher demands on your construction needs. I mean, it's one thing if you only have like, half a stack of ore and you want to turn them into ingots. Another thing if you have like 6 stacks of ore or even bricks that you want to turn into blocks for some reason, and this thing takes forever to go through. So, let's make sure I'm in regular normal mode, and we'll begin. Now you notice this is 2 blocks high. And the one you just saw in your textbook is only 1 block high. You can actually expand, as far as I know, as high as you can go. I've had one as high as 3 blocks high. However, it's not always recommended because I have had trouble with Tinker's Construct being a little bit buggy. So I would not recommend going higher than 3 blocks. However, I would recommend going higher than 1 because that would make your capacity twice what it would be initially. And if you go 3, it'll obviously triple your capacity. And that may make sense now. I'm just going to move this down to its base blocks. Now, I was hoping to find a smeltery out in the world because it would illustrate this better than I could here. But I'll have to make do with what I can. Essentially, a smeltery is a 3x3 of these seared blocks. So the first thing you do is at underground level, you're going to put 3x3 of these. Now, a lot of the stuff in the smeltery design is optional and can be played around with. This is not one of them. You have to have a 3x3 down here. The second thing that you must have is that all of the sides of the 3x3 must be covered. Okay, now the design you just saw and the one it generates in the world leaves these corner blocks empty, and that works fine. All you need is really to have these sides covered. However, I've had trouble with this being buggy in the past, and occasionally animals can get into it, which is not the most pleasant sound in the world. So I prefer to block it in all around. And this is just a preference thing. You don't have to do this. If you want to save materials, you definitely should not do this. Okay, now next thing to do, you already have a Smeltery controller that you use to get the volume 3, but you do need to make a lava tank. And you do this by making the chest shape and adding a piece of glass. Now you can get more, you can use more than one of these, but I find one is generally enough. Yeah. Oh, this is another thing too. One of the reasons I mentioned this thing is a little bit buggy. You must place you must do this in the order that I just showed you. That is the 3x3, then the walls, then the lava tank, then the Smeltery controller. There we go. See the particles right here? That indicates that this machine is now functioning. However, if you had put the controller first and then the tank second, it might not work as well. In fact, it probably still won't work as well because I've had trouble with this thing in the past. Okay, next phase, this thing is only 1 high. We're going to make it 2 high now. So I'm just going to add these around here, and this is part of the design that is definitely optional. You can use seared glass, make it a little more visually appealing. I actually recommend you do that. We're going to do that in a moment, so I can show you that. I think here, and yep, that should do it. All right. Now you're going to go back, and you're going to use the seared bricks to make a casting basin. And if you happen to find one of these in the world, this will definitely be one of the blocks you find. You're going to need to make a casting table. I'm actually going to make 2 casting tables to show you something else you can do with this. You're going to need to make 2 seared faucets, and see if I'm doing this right. I believe, no, that's not it. Oh, let's consult our textbook. Ah, there it is, seared glass. So it's 5 of those and 2 of those. I get that confused. I'm gonna just make a whole bunch of these. I may need to get some more bricks. There we go. Just for simplicity. And I think I need 5 of these. Okay, so take the seared glass, and put it there. Oh, and actually that's important to note. If I right-click on the Smeltery controller, you see there's a little 3x3 GUI here. Now that's because at this moment, this is only a 1 block high Smeltery, because the second level is not yet complete. Once we put the blocks in, it will be complete. Okay, so I'm going to take casting basin and put it here. Take one of the casting tables and put it here. And the other one I'm going to put here. Okay, now what I'm also going to put another glass here. Okay, I made 2 extras. Next thing we need are 3, I believe it's just this. Yes, Smeltery drains. I'm going to put one here, and one here. Now, if I'm right, this should function normally now. Yep, so you notice that the GUI just doubled in size because it now has access to 2 3x3 levels. Now, I'm going to take these seared faucets, put one here, and one here. Now, the next thing to make out of the seared bricks, I'm doing this right. Yes, casting channels. This is something I only learned about recently, to be honest, but I believe it's quite useful when the time comes. Now, here's a key. When you use a casting channel, as far as I can tell, do not directly connect it to where you want it to go. Right now we have one here. It's got this block here. If we put a second one, it will continuously flow any molten materials onto this, which is not always what you want to do. So just keep that sort of in your hotbar until you want to use it. Okay, now at this point we have pretty much a fully functioning smeltery. Congratulations. Oh wait, nope, doesn't work because this is empty. This is a lava tank or a seared tank. So I have 2 buckets of lava, and if I remember correctly, I think 4 buckets pretty much fills one of these tanks. I believe you can also stack 2 on top, but the smeltery controller is still a little buggy, so it won't necessarily register. So I'm just going to right click, put the lava in there. You see it's slowly filling up. It takes a few seconds to recognize that. Okay, now this should, yes, okay, it's recognizing that it has fuel. The MB number, you can't always trust it. You can't always trust the levels, really, because you see this is about a quarter. This appears like it's 1/3, so don't trust that. Just trust that you have fuel in there. Okay, now I think we're ready to make our first items in the smeltery. And what I want to make is aluminum brass. Now, you can use gold for this operation, but depending on how much you find and depending on however else you may want to use gold, you may not want to kind of waste it on this. But if you look over here in our volume 3 of Materials in You, we have aluminum brass made from aluminum and copper. And the reason we're doing this is because you read over here, blank casts are made by pouring aluminum, brass, or gold into an empty casting table. We're going to need for this part of the lesson one blank cast. You use blank casts for several other reasons, mostly for crafting specialized blocks from Maker's Construct, which we will get to in several lessons once I learn how to actually use them. But for the moment, we're going to do this. You can actually, if you want to, shift click and you will get them all in here, but we only need a couple. So I'm just going to put 3 aluminum ore and 1 copper. And you can see the little indicator is moving upwards. That means that it's using the lava to melt these pieces, and we should get 4 ingots worth of aluminum brass when this thing goes through. Okay, now I don't really want to waste the other 3, and aluminum brass isn't really useful for anything other than making casts. So I'm gonna skip ahead to our next lesson essentially, and I'm going to show you how to make casts. And fortunately, we already have a couple we can use. Remember the things we picked up back at the Tinker Shop? Wooden medium guard, bronze knife blade, large copper guard, and I think these 3 should be fine. So let's check on the control. I'm just going to right click on it, and there you go. Okay, it's hard to see, but molten aluminum brass ingots 4. Okay, so now it means we have 4 ingots worth of liquid inside the smelter. And if you actually move up, you can see it. Do not attempt to use a bucket to remove the liquid from there. It won't work at all, and you can take damage when you try and move into it. What you can do, though, is right-click on a drain attached to a faucet which is above a table, and wait a few seconds. Voila! A blank cast. Now, you go back over to our stencil table, put the blank cast in there, and you can only make one thing using I'm going to say it's probably enough for the last time. Technical mods change all the time, so the one thing I learned is no longer valid. So, I'm just going to need to spawn in an ingot, anything, iron ingot. Just need one iron ingot. So, you go back over here, right-click on the table, and what it does is it places the ingot on the casting table. This is actually similar to the functionality in Bibliocraft where you can put items onto tables in there. But you put the item on here first, right-click, and right-click again, and we have ourselves an ingot cast. Now this is going to be the most useful cast you're going to use in all of Hexxit. There are many of others, but this is one you're going to use primarily for most things you can make. But we're actually going to need two of them because we have not only this table, casting table, we have this one also. So put it back on. And each time we're clicking, we're using 1 ingot's worth of aluminum brass. So I'm going to put this over here and return this over here. Actually, I'm not, because we still have, remember, we had 4, so we still have one more aluminum brass ingot in there. So I don't want to waste that. And I could actually make it into an ingot, but then I have to put it back in the smelter in order to get it to work again, so I might as well just use it up. So I'm going to take this bronze knife blade, put it on the table, and right click, and we have a knife blade cast. Now the main difference between the essential designs we saw that were in the Tinker's Construct shop and this one which I just made is that this is made out of metal. That means you can actually make metal casts out of it. In a way, it kind of makes sense. You don't really want to put a wooden cast to make a piece of metal. It'll set on fire. So right now, with this cast, we could make a knife blade out of any kind of metal we wanted to. We can make it out of iron or gold or eventually magnesium or alumite, which we will get to in our later episodes. So for the moment, I'm going to put these right here. And this is why I put this pattern chest right next to these. Oh, and you see, this doesn't work. The pattern chest only accepts filled patterns. So this blank cast, we're just going to leave in here. I'm going to go back here, put the ingot over this way, and I'm just going to grab... Oh, I had more. Okay. Oh, waste not, want not. So I'm just going to take some aluminum and just left click and watch that move into there. Oh, you notice the lava now shows 1700 MB, but I'm guessing is millibars or something. So do not trust this fuel setting. Just trust this, that you actually have fuel in there. Okay, now I'm going to show you. I just showed you how to use the casting table here, and just right click to fill whatever pattern is here, and what's in here now is the ingot casting. Now I'm going to show you how to use this, the casting basin. And believe me, when I learned about this, it literally like blew my mind. I'm like, are you telling me this thing is actually 4 times more efficient than I thought it was? Okay, so now we have 36 ingots worth of molten aluminum in the smeltery. Now we could stand here, and I have, believe me, right-clicking on this, right-click on this, this, for 36 ingots worth. Or we can go over here and click once. And it's filling up. And And what this is doing is it is creating a block of the same material, that is utilizing 9 ingots worth of material. Now, this is incredibly efficient, but it's also a little bit tricky. The reason being, you're always going to want to monitor how many ingots worth are remaining in the smeltery. The reason is that if you right-click on the valve above the faucet above the casting basin, and there's less than 9 ingots remaining in the smeltery, this will only partially fill up, meaning you can't use it again until you put more of the same kind of metal in here, have it smelt, then go back and bring it up to 9 worth. So it's a little bit tricky, just involves a little bit of math. Just monitor it carefully and you'll find it's very useful. Now, getting back to this over here. I said before that you right-click here, right-click there, right-click here, right-click there. The other option is to take these channel castings and connect them like this. Now you notice it's filling up a little slower than it would be, but you see the flow is continuous. So if I just click here, I now have the aluminum ingot, and it's still filling. This will continuously fill as long as you still have metals in there. Let me just show you by comparison what the regular non-casting channel flow looks like. You saw before, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a little bit faster over here. However, all you have to do is just click once. Yep, about 10 seconds worth. The only downside, and this is something I haven't quite experimented with yet, right now we have 18 ingots remaining in there, plus the 1 here. So if I do this, remaining. So this is filled, but it's not actually filled with ingots. It just looks like it's filled, meaning that it's functioning. The only way it uses ingots is if it fills up one of these casting basins. So as I said before, it's best to leave these leave the casting channel unconnected until you're actually ready to use it. Otherwise, it will continuously fill up. But if you want volume, I recommend you use the blocks. And for more specialized stuff, you can use the casting table attached to a faucet. The channel is merely here for a little more speed. One other thing you can do, though, is you can actually take the casting channel, and I'm going to try to illustrate this. I only have a couple left. Is change the direction. So if I put one here, and I put one here, if I had a second casting table here, it would flow to both casting tables. So you can imagine you can have several and fill it all at once. And you can certainly do that. But I find that it just clutters things up, and it's usually more efficient just to use the block state. Now, one more thing. What we have in here now is still the molten aluminum. I'm just going to make another block to clear it out. In order to put a new material in there, you have to clear out what is already in there, or risk making an alloy. So, for example, if I wanted to use iron in there instead of aluminum, I first have to remove all the aluminum ingots. So there's 4 remaining in there. I'm just going to collect those like this. And I think there's one more. Oh, that's interesting. So it showed partials. That makes sense. So there's 2 ingots remaining. I'm just going to click here. So you saw what happened was that I clicked it while this was still flowing, and it showed ingots and nuggets. Nuggets refer to 1/9 of an ingot, because you take 9 nuggets, you can make 1 ingot. So ordinarily won't be a problem. I don't think you can actually cast nuggets as far as I know. but it is a useful measurement for the GUI to tell how much is in there. Now, okay, so right now we have you can see it. There it goes. Okay, remember what I said before about this thing being a little buggy? Yep, this is it. For some reason it didn't register there was nothing left, so right now we have a partially filled cast here. This was made with some reason less than 1 ingot's worth of aluminum. So right now this is useless, and you can't use it again until you put more in there. You know, this is actually still registering as 3 ingots. See, even when you destroy that, this thing still remains. And you can't do it, you can't remove it like that because it's still in process. So like I said, this thing has a little bit of bugs to work out. But we progress, slowly we progress. And you'll notice this thing has pretty much the same amount of lava it had when it went through. So feel free to go through many fillings of this thing before you run out. And if you need a source of lava, all you have to do is go to the nether, and it's as easy as that. Okay, so I've been prattling on for quite a while about this. I hope you'll find this smeltery very useful, and there are actually 2 more things that I want to show you before this is over. And that is this. I only learned about this recently myself, so you're going to be watching me experiment on this. I'll use 6. You can actually put glass inside a smeltery to make clear glass. And I know it has a little bit of the molten aluminum left in, unfortunately, because of the little bug. But what are you going to do? Actually, I'm curious now. Let me grab a pickaxe. Okay, now did that take care of the problem? No, it did not. We still have 4 MBs worth of molten aluminum in there. But because glass and aluminum I don't believe can be made into an alloy, we should be getting, in a few seconds, a layer of glass. Yep. Whoa, that's a lot of glass. 41 ingots worth of glass. So let's just experiment, because I've never done this before. Oh, nice. Okay, so that's where the rest of the aluminum went. Unfortunately, because it's only partial, you have to destroy it in order to move on. But I should be able to do this. Yeah, because now we only have glass remaining in there. And I'm just going to tidy up by returning these where they were. There and there. Okay, so notice anything different? This is clear glass. And the thing about clear glass, if I switch this back to recipe mode, is that clear glass can be used just like leather or wool, and you can dye it, make different colored stained glass. That's right, this is, I believe, Minecraft 1.47. It has stained glass just like 1.7.2. And I'm just going to show you quickly one example of the stained glass, which I already used in constructing our overworld campus. Let's take you over here to our greenhouse. Yep, this is, I believe, lime green glass and green stained glass. Pretty cool, isn't it? And it's an aesthetic thing. I believe you can also make glass panes out of the same material. Okay, so with what little time I have left, I'm going to talk about the last part of our introduction to Tinker's Construct. We've already talked about the Tinker's Construct crafting stations over here. I've showed you the Tinker's Construct house as part of the villages. I was unable to show you a village smeltery, unfortunately, because I just couldn't find one. I showed you my design for a smeltery. You can certainly customize it in many different ways, but I tried to show you all of the 3 different methods of gaining ingots and blocks. So feel free to experiment on your own and find a design that works for you. The last thing I'm going to talk about is another addition to Tinker's Construct, and that is the ore berry. And for that, we're going to go downstairs. Remember, I just told you we were going to need that piston for later, because I use a piston to make this, my ore berry farm. And this is just a block attached to a piston. Shall we? Okay. Here we go. Pretty cool, isn't it? Watch, I'll do it again. And it's a little bit of not necessary, but I find that there's delaying the tick between the redstone lamps just for a few seconds makes it a little more dramatic, almost like a long hallway being turned on, which is in fact what it is. Turn the rain off. So, what is an ore berry? Ore berries are these. These are actually ore berry bushes, and how you find these is you go caving in Hexxit, and the way you can tell if you found an ore berry bush is this. They hurt you. If you're ever walking around in a cave and you're like, whoa, where'd that damage come from? It's like someone shooting at me. Don't see any arrows, but you see something that looks like this or this. That's an ore berry bush, and ore berries are what you get from the bushes. This is a tin ore berry. And what an ore berry is a grown nugget. And a nugget, as we know before, is 1/9 of an ingot. So what you do is, if you have 9 of these tin, I'm trying to do this without getting injured. Always a challenge. You take 9 of these tin ore berries, put them in a furnace. You get 9 tin ingots. Take 9 tin ingots, put them in a crafting table. You get 1 tin. You get 9 tin nuggets to 1 tin ingot. So every time one of these regenerates, you get a tin ingot. Now, you're gonna say, big deal. I mean, tin's all over the place, and you're right. Tin's all over the place. Copper's all over the place. Aluminum's all over the place. This is just another way of gaining this material for little or no cost, and it's actually renewable. However, on here we have, what is it? We have copper, and I'm sorry, this one copper. No, it's iron. Sorry, iron and copper, aluminum. These are all relatively common metals you find in many places. This, on the other hand, is gold. That's right. You can now grow gold in Hexxit, and this concentrated essence berry from a creeper bush. This, watch my bar, is XP. You can grow your own XP in this game. And you see, it's going to go up a little bit. It's about a bar and a half per essence berry. See the possibilities? Now, I realize when you first start out with Hexxit, you're not going to be able to build something exactly like this ore berry farm. The reason being you don't have access to the nether, so you can't make redstone lamps like this. I just want to show you quickly my design here, and this is like my 5th design for an ore berry farm. I've looked online trying to find other designs for them. There's not that many out there. I think I've seen one, and it was much more primitive than this, which is just in a cave. I've been trying to find ones that are automated, but I've yet to find any. I think you can actually automate an oreberry farm in some technical mod packs, maybe like Feed the Beast, but I've never actually seen one. And you can certainly not automate an oreberry farm in Hexxit. There's just no mechanism for it. However, if anyone listening to me can find an automated oreberry farm, I'd be very interested in looking at it. Just post it down in the comments. So I just want to show you what I have here quickly is redstone attached to lamps, and I've got some repeaters on full bore right after the blocks, and I just got some glass on top of it. I just find it looks very very nice, and you can walk over it too, which is a great thing. So the most important thing about this oreberry farm is the shape of it. Oreberries need a near or total darkness in order to produce fruit, in order to produce oreberries. So therefore, you need to have them. Yep, as you collect these oreberry bushes, which when you find them in the overworld in caves, they won't look like this. They will look like this, or more accurately, after you place them, they look like. See, try and click. I can't even place them, so I have to turn my lights off for a second. Then place it. See, that's an immature bush, which will grow over time and be able to produce fruit. Now, unlike regular berries, oreberry bushes do not expand. A regular berry bush, which we'll see upstairs, you plant it one on ground level, it will eventually expand up to 4 high. These do not. They stay only 1 block high, and you can only plant them on top of stuff. You can't plant them directly onto a wall. So what you do is you do what I have back here. I've got some dirt blocks. And I've got, just drop this stuff off for a second. What you do is you take the block and you do, I think it should work. Put the dirt back here. Drop that. Go to the next layer and continue like that. Now, as I said before, you won't be able to build this exact type when you first start off in Hexxit, because you don't have access to the Nether and when you start. So you have to do this with some torches. Just place them while you're building and while you're farming, and just remove them when you're finished. Now, as anyone who played Minecraft knows, when you have a dark enclosed area that's relatively close to where you're spending a lot of time, that will eventually turn into a mob trap. So how do you prevent this? You prevent it by making it the right shape. This is a 4 by 3 hallway. 2 of the sides are filled in. That leaves only a 2 by 3 vertical space. You can make it 4 high, but I find it 3 is actually the highest you can really realistically go just to reach for them. Plus, there's only 6 different types of oreberries to begin with. So because this oreberry farm is this exact shape, mobs can't spawn in here, and the ones that do, well, they come in close contact with these bushes and they quickly die. However, if you had, for example, this same shaped hallway, but only half as many oreberries here, and you left a gap at the end here, I guarantee when you walk down to harvest your oreberries, you'd find a creeper or spider or zombies waiting for you. So keep it as much as you can tight to the wall, and expand the room as you get more oreberries. Okay. So let me just clean up in here a little bit. So even those 2 torches I put there are too bright. They would prevent the oreberries from bearing fruit. So you go back up, and I've just got a piston. I got a sticky piston attached to cobblestone here. You cannot use a trapdoor for this because trapdoors still let light through. You can't if you have this oreberry farm is under here. If you had a door over this way on the same level, it wouldn't work either unless you had a significant kink in the door, because that would still allow light through. You have to make it light tight. And as I said before, all you have to do is take the cooked ore berries, put them in here. This won't work, but I want to give you the idea. You have a tin, you have an ingot. It's just an alternate way to make, in this case, essence and gold. And if you have trouble finding aluminum or copper, it's an alternative source. I highly recommend whenever you find ore berry bushes underground, collect them, bring them back, and you'll have yourself a steady supply of materials to make more things from your materials in your textbooks. Okay, so I think that's it for today. I think I ran a little long. I'm hoping to keep these episodes somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes long, so I don't take up too much of your time. But I hope you enjoyed this first lesson in Hexxit Education, and I hope that you have enjoyed it as much as I have. And I hope you'll continue to continue with me on this journey through Hexxit. Class dismissed.